Welcome back to Healthcare Consumerism Radio. This is Brent Macy, Managing Director for the Institute for Healthcare Consumerism, joined with my co-host Doug Field, CEO and founder of the Institute. And we talked about exchanges in the opening segment there, Doug, and a lot of moving pieces are really happening around that. We've actually got Jeff Yaniga, who is the Vice President of Exchanges with Connecture, joining us. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Hi, Brent. Good morning, Doug.
Hey, good morning, Jeff.
Now, Jeff, you guys are in the wild world of the private exchange market, but you also look at other pieces from an exchange standpoint. Kind of give our audience a little bit of an overview on Connecture and you all's position in the market.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. And looking forward to Atlanta in May for sure.
Great. Now, you guys, so kind of give our audience the overview on Connecture and kind of all the moving pieces around the exchanges for you guys.
Sure. The long and short is that we're a web-based shopping and enrollment company for exchanges. And I think the number, at least for us, that's really humbling is 33 million. And 33 million is the number of consumers that have shopped and successfully enrolled through our four pillars. And the four pillars of our exchange business, first and foremost is our DRX division, and formerly known as Destination RX. And that division powers a very large exchange, Medicare.gov, and 1-800-MEDICARE. Along with that, we power about 45 health plans, shopping and enrollment in Medicare, as well as some very large benefit consultants and e-brokers. The other aspect of DRX that you guys were discussing, at least in brief, in the intro, was transparency tools, and our drug compare transparency tool powers many of the large pharmacy benefit managers, and is certainly an element of our shopping services. So that's pillar one in Medicare. And what DRX is in Medicare, our Insure Advantage product is an under 65, so shopping and enrollment exchange products for small group, large group, as well as individuals. The third pillar is our state exchange division, and today we power 3 of the state exchanges. And then the fourth division is the team that I work for, and we're fortunate enough to be able to pull together all of that technology and innovation into a private exchange offering for brokers, health plans, benefit consultants, and then large aggregators, which you were talking a little bit about as well.
Do you go direct to employers, a large employer, with your private exchange model?
We don't.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, our customers have been pretty insistent that we don't, and that's an important tenet of our business. We service health plans, benefit consultants, and certainly large aggregators only.
Yeah, Jeff, you have a very unique view of the market, and I know you've done some user surveys. Can you talk to our audience about some of the findings that you've had?
Yeah, sure. I think our marketing friends and health plan friends will love some of these stats, and we take design very serious. We've learned a lot from our customers. So this year especially, as we add to the functionality and the releases in our private exchange shopping, there are 3 findings that were significantly compelling. One was around the right amount of choice. 2 was around the tolerance people have for lack of a better term, lifestyle questions. And 3 is the buying criteria that people hold up as important when making decisions. So starting off with choice, there's certainly a paradox here. People want choice, but they don't want too much. So the options they were given were less than 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, or more than 20 choices is the right amount for a conclusive decision. And the survey was very telling. Less than 5 was plenty for 40% of the survey. 5 to 10 choices was enough for 44% of the survey. So nearly 85% of respondents thought that 10 or less was plenty of choice. And certainly there's the element of the population that wants more, but it was a very small element.
Do you think, Jeff, from your view, do you think that will change as the consumers become more educated about the type of choices that they can make for they and their families?
Yeah, I really do, Doug.
Yeah.
There's no doubt, and I think we've learned this from nearly a decade of online shopping in Medicare. With the tools that are available, the population increases their healthcare acumen year after year after year. Mm-hmm. And as they understand the consequences or benefits of a good decision, they see choice in a different light. And that's certainly something we've learned and have adapted our technology for.
Jeff, from the survey, was there any other findings on kind of what the consumer was looking for in the platform from a choice standpoint?
Yeah, Brent, one of the questions that I found really interesting asked, how many questions are you willing to tolerate before you see pricing and plans?
Huh.
And we gave three options. The first option essentially said, I'll answer as many questions as it takes, or a lot of questions at least, to get me to the right plan. The second option was, just tell me the price. I'm a numbers person. Mm-hmm. And then the third was somewhere in between. And this is one that we've surveyed for years and years. And this year, it was telling because it was inconclusive. We had nearly equal responses between those three preferences. And that taught us a lot. That taught us that our technology for shopping really needs to be smart and personalized and give the person the ability to dive deep, but without taking them through a very intrusive process. Mm-hmm. So if you don't do it right, you may offend 66% of the people. So we found that very interesting.
When you working with your brokers and consultants and advisors, and working with their employer clients, what are the key things that the employers need to be looking at when they're deciding, if an exchange model and what exchange model might fit their organizations?
So I think it's interesting. There are a few things that have stayed the same. From the very highest level, you read the 2013 Aon Hewitt study, right, and employers are telling them, please continue to offer PPOs, right, high deductible, consumer-driven plans with HSA for sure, and HMOs as well. But in the simplest form, the employers are asking for choice that will attract and retain healthy employees. Mm-hmm. So I'll certainly show some bias here. Don't trust me, but trust the researchers on this one. You guys are obviously well-versed on some of this marketplace, but Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs and Oliver Wyman and Boston Consulting Group seem to have come to a consensus that employers are going to move people to this space, and the consensus is anywhere from 30 million to 45 million people moving to a private exchange environment in the next 3 to 5 years. So it's really interesting. It's a really interesting time.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be your typical maturation. It's going to be a pretty quick run-up, don't you think so? Don't you agree? It's going to be a pretty quick adoption.
Yeah, I do agree. The trajectory, obviously, to be determined, but I think the end product is pretty predictable at this point.
Yeah. Jeff, when you look at the resources that are available to consumers, in these exchanges, what are the things that you think are absolutely key to have sitting in these exchanges to make this all function correctly?
So our users told us there's three questions they want to make sure they can answer and make sure that the technology serves these questions. And the first, I'll put a little bit of a twist on, but it's how much is my doctor worth to me? I think with all the news about if you like your doctor, keep it, it certainly shines some light onto that question. And we're all going through some validation about how much someone is willing to pay to keep their doctor. So that's one, and tools around that are paramount. Mm-hmm. Two is people want to know that if they have predictable expenses in the next year, and these can be any kind of expenses that are supported by insurance, give me technology that helps me choose properly given that potential outcome. And then third, transparency tools around pharmacy and drugs. Our users are telling us that that's an enormous part of their out-of-pocket expense, and they want to understand their options better.
Now, if you were to look into your crystal ball, and I know the private exchange market's moving extremely fast. It seems as we see new companies jumping in almost weekly with an exchange platform or or trying to enable an exchange. If you look kind of into your crystal ball, where do you see this market in 1, 2, 5 years from now?
Yeah, so for us, there's three tailwinds that we're tracking very, very closely. And this is a comment that, again, was made earlier in the intro. Our studies indicate that as healthcare acumen improves, people are going to become better and more sophisticated shoppers, and they're going to demand that technology supports that sophistication. That's number one. Number two, I'll say that if I'm in the voluntary or supplemental space and I'm a provider of those products, there's an enormous tailwind at their back. Mm-hmm. One reason, which I think is certainly non-trivial, is as employers start to offer stipends and choice, if one spouse is covered by medical products, another working spouse may have the complete ability to buy supplemental products that support their need more so than they ever have in the past. And every private exchange, and with Connecture included, is making sure that those supplemental and voluntary products are available and available in a very easy way. And third, which the news has already bore this out in the last day, but new players are entering the market, and this is a tailwind we're tracking closely. Yep. Banks, financial institutions, and retailers who have very strong relationships with their consumers today are looking to serve that constituency in a different way, and private exchanges are going to enable that, in my opinion.
Yep. Well, Jeff, we really appreciate you joining us on the program today. Kind of as we wrap up, let our audience know how they can get in touch with you guys.
Yeah, sure, especially if anybody's interested in learning more about the survey we did or about the work we do. Info@Connecture.com, info@Connecture.com, and just mention Jeff Radio in the subject line, and we'll help you out.
All right, Jeff. Hey, really appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Look forward to seeing you here in Atlanta next month, or actually May, so it's not April quite yet. But have a great weekend, and to the rest of our audience, stay tuned for the next segment of Healthcare Consumerism Radio.